Morning. Today we're up and at it bright and early. Our road trip today takes us to the DMZ, the old border between North and South Vietnam that was the scene of many bloody battles during the Vietnam War, and probably the most famous site is a place called Khe Sanh, and we'll be visiting that site as well.
I first travelled this route in 1991, at a time when travel permits were required to go anywhere in Vietnam. I got to Dong Ha after hours travelling along terrible roads, only to be refused access to Highway 9, which is where the DMZ runs. I made the journey again in 1993 and was more successful. In the early 90s, this area had barely moved on from war. Mangled bridges were still common, and the roads were lined with piles of rusting scrap, much of it war junk, and the countryside was still littered with unexploded ordnance. These days there's a new road, and war remnants for the most part tend to be things that have been consciously preserved, rather than things that nobody's had the time or money to clean up. There are still plenty of these old bullet-ridden pillboxes along the roadside. The first stop of our DMZ tour was the Vang church, a church built to commemorate a site where Mary is said to have appeared to persecuted Catholics in the late 18th century. Much of the church was destroyed in the terrible Battle of Easter 1972. It hasn't been rebuilt, but it remains a holy site and a place of pilgrimage. Our second stop was another war-ravaged church, Long Hung Church, which also fell victim to the fierce battles of Easter 1972. By 1972, US troop withdrawals from Vietnam were well advanced, so the massive North Vietnamese incursion across the border was met by South Vietnamese troops with strong US air support. There are lots of these bullet-riddled buildings in Vietnam and Cambodia, and they never lose their profound power as places of death and suffering. The casualties on all sides were horrendous. I was very fortunate to be guided through the DMZ by the wonderful Mr Tam, a tour guide who was born in the area and lived through the terrible events of the late 60s and early 70s.
I live here in my village, my sergeant, on the bank of Hien Luong River, but the American call it Khe Viet River, you know. And, in 1968, before Tet Offensive, the NVA, came to this area. They want to cut the supply line on the river by shooting at the US ship on the river, because it was a US water supply line from 7th Fleet on the sea to the Dong Ha port in here. And, and we began to move away in 1968. Because I was 14 years old that time, and I remember when the NVA came to my village, American helicopter, they flew very low. Very low. We can see the gunners on the helicopters. Very scared to see the helicopter coming toward you, because you could be a target. They can shoot you. You never know. That's why when we're walking around in, helicopter moving around in the air, we heard them shooting, ding, 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 like that, But so, and I remember we were very afraid if we saw helicopter coming toward us, and anyone run away from helicopter, they shoot them, And so when we saw helicopter in the air, we want to run away. Well, instinctively we want to run away, but we know that if we run away, then shoot them. They shoot us. That's why we have to control our fear. To walk normally.
Right.
Very, very hard. Because very dangerous. The gun aiming to you all the time like that. So we are now standing on the Highway 9, a very important road in wartime because it runs from Dong Ha to Savannakhet, a city of Laos on the back Mekong River. And because this one cut across Ho Chi Minh Trail, a network of semi trails and roads on which moving supplies and soldiers for south. That's why the US established a sister base from Dong Ha up to the Lao border to control the road and to stop the moving by the North Vietnamese army along Ho Chi Minh Trail. And far there you can see the Camp Fuller. Camp Fuller, highest ground of the American in this area. And here rock pile. American observation post in the wartime. On top there was US Marine lookout and landing pad for helicopter, you can see like this. And artillery bases go on the ground. Many times the US veterans who were there come back here. I came down with them and they show me, this is my bunker, this is my artillery battery, something like that.
This little taste of what Highway 9 really looked like during wartime. This little bridge built during French times. So you can just imagine the US supplies were travelling to Khe Sanh across this bridge and along this road. And it ain't in real good shape. Of course now there's a new road and a new bridge, which you can see just there. But this was Route 9 as the French built it, and this is how it looked all the way up until the 1990s. This is the new Dak Rong Bridge. During the war, it was important strategic ground and the scene of many battles. The Ho Chi Minh Trail, a jungle supply line connecting the north with the Viet Cong in the south, ran through here towards Laos. Just passed through Khe Sanh town and now we're on our way to the fire base.
So we're now on the former Khe Sanh combat base, US Marine base in 1968, and the base was assigned for the most controversial battle in the Vietnam War. And you can see over there the hill 861, very important Marine outpost, you know. And in 1960, only that one was attacked by the NVA Guerrilla forces.
And this tank here?
This is a M41 tank. US tank left here in the wartime around here.
There's not much left of the old airstrip, and it's still hard to believe that this place could have assumed so much importance to the United States in 1967 and 1968. In recent years, old US aircraft left at the end of the war have been brought in from other parts of Vietnam to add to the visual experience. Very little was left when the US withdrew from Khe Sanh. Mr Ming at the Khe Sanh Museum gave an excellent account of what happened here.
6,680 US Marine landing here, under command of Colonel David Lau, and with the help of Navy Mobile Construction Battalion 10, they built a big airfield here. The runway about 1.2 kilometers long, and this airfield, this runway were interlocked, were paved with thousands of aluminum runway matting. So Hercules easy landing here. Beside the Ta Khon, Khe Sanh, and Lang Vây, you know, General Westmoreland, he ordered to more Marine landing on the occupy and deploy in all of the hilltop, especially northwest side of the main bay here. Especially A1 North, A1 South, 1015, 950, A61, 558, and some other. And all the Marine on the hilltop, they belong to the US hill fighters. So I think at the end of 1967, the number of Marine included the men inside the main bay here and the men on the hilltop, up to over 13,000 men. But Khe Sanh always looked like Dien Bien Phu. Every people know about that. And Westmoreland, he hoped to avoid another repeat.
From Khe Sanh we headed back towards the coast and the North Vietnamese tunnels at Vinh Moc. For an area remembered only for war and carnage, the beaches are surprisingly picturesque. We're going to go into
Vinh Moc Tunnel.
Vinh Moc Tunnels now.
Entrance number 3.
You want to go first, Mr Tam?
Okay. You can see here, you can see the wooden wall in here, because from here to the ground, thin earth, But go deeper now, no more wooden wall. And now you can see from here, no more wooden wall like this, only earth, you can take it out. And not so far from the big bomb crater over there. This is very special kind of soil, volcanic soil, very sticky, very stable, Only here you can build tunnel in this red soil. Now we're on a second level, about 15 meters underground, and you can see on the left, 2 entrances, number 1 and number 2, going to the sea, where the sea breeze come in. Receiving sea breeze from the sea.
And how far down are we going to go?
Okay, we can go further on about 150 meters, and you can see the family room on both sides.
So you're saying about 200 people lived here, huh?
About 200 people living there. Not exactly, but more or less than that.
And are the tunnels just protecting the people, or are they also defending the coast? Are they also active?
Yeah, both. Defending the local people, and they use this one to defend this area, this land. And in here they can store the supplies, weapon, ammunition, everything before carrying to the Conco Island, very important outpost of the north. It's about 28 kilometers off the sea. Very important outpost of the north.
So this was an important military facility as well.
Yeah. Family, yeah, like that.
And there's light at the end of this tunnel. And a sea breeze as well.
Entrance number 6 here. In 1954, after the French had lost the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, and they agreed to grant Vietnam independence under the Geneva Peace Agreement. And the Ben Hai River here at 7th parallel, we use demarcation line dividing Vietnam, the north and the south. And along the river, 5 kilometers on each side was Demilitarized Zone.
We ended the day at Vietnam's largest war cemetery, the Chung Sơn Cemetery. It's where thousands of the estimated 3 million Vietnamese who died in the Vietnam War are buried. These are North Vietnamese graves of the soldiers that fell on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It seemed an appropriately solemn place to close a day of thinking about war and battles, where the real horrendous cost in human life can be easily overlooked.